we are halfway down our panel. We are a little bit ahead of time, so I hope that we will still have time for a good Q&A session. But having said that, I'd like to move to the eastern block of our panel and give the floor to Mr. Asad Aleem, an energy specialist with the Asian Development Bank. You know, this whole conference is about the new Silk Road, about pathways between Europe and Asia, about maybe connections and lessons learned. So perhaps from your expertise, you could reflect a bit on how the Asian landscape has an impact on these questions and on these complexities that we're dealing with here in Europe.
Thank you, Gorina. I'll put forth some facts and figures and then make a couple of points. First, talk about the European energy security. Now, Russia would at least for the next 10 years, it will keep on dominating the gas markets of Central and Eastern Europe. Currently, 25% of your EU imports, about close to 160 BCM, are from Russia, and half of these are from Ukraine. So 50% are from about 80 BCM are flowing through Ukraine. And in a sense, it will require time, money, and strong political will to reduce dependence, to reduce European dependence. But eliminating such, I don't think so it is possible in the next 2 decades even. The whole, this process has given a positive spin as well to address the market deficiencies of EU. And they have stirred into action, third energy package, and discussions have started about the pricing reforms, competitive energy markets, the interconnections for gas and power. Now storage, which is close to 75 BCM currently in EU, and it is quite lumpy. So there is a need for interconnections to first to increase this storage, and then at least shift where the deficit and demand dictates. It is also, according to some studies, estimated there is about 12 trillion cubic meter potential of shale gas in the EU region. So the countries have to come up with firm policy, although it's a very sensitive subject, and at how to go forth about it. Now the options which, unfortunately, Europe is surrounded by energy-rich countries. In South you have Africa, Algeria, Libya, Egypt, although a bit in turmoil still, and availability of gas. And further down you can have solar in the Maghreb belt, which can provide electricity, interconnections. In the east, obviously, you have Central Asia, and then you have Caucasus. LNG revolution, and LNG imports from through shale revolution from the US. That is another big opportunity if and the price distortions among the US, European, and the Asian markets are somehow settled. Also, the EU competition rules now somehow are discouraging the midstream and downstream monopoly of Gazprom. So I think European market should come up firm on how to shape up their energy landscape. In EU, about 31% of the gas is used for power, so about 160 BCM. But there is a great opportunity to reduce this dependence, and it's I think same amount which is being imported from Russia. So the renewable energy, obviously, is gaining share. Coal prices due to the shale revolution in the US has decreased, and then the cheaper coal is flowing into EU, which could provide some opportunity if, and the technology for producing electricity by using supercritical and catalytic converters, and then following the interconnections from the electricity producing countries to the power deficit. Having said that, Russia and Gazprom has its own problems. So EU is the only market for Russia. And oil and gas exports comprise nearly 70% of its exports, of about 520 billion. And it finances more than 50% of the budget of Russia. So Russia cannot afford to lose European markets. They have made a deal with China, which will come through maybe in 2018, 2019. But China is already importing from so many other countries, so it has quite a deal of leverage in a sense, unlike EU. Also, the Russian share of EU gas market is decreasing. It was in early 2000s, it was about 37%. Now it is reduced to 25% in about 10 years. Russian gas production is stagnant. It's about 600 BCM from 2002 to 2012-13. And the capex requirements of Gazprom is much higher than their net income. So Gazprom is in financial difficulties. Its market capitalization has reduced, has been diluted, wiped out by 100 billion from 2006 to 2013. And Russia's world share in gas market has reduced from 30% to about 17%. Now EU spends about 55 billion in gas, in importing Russian gas, and now it is up to the EU that how do they make use of this as an opportunity cost, and how do they develop their own systems to slowly and gradually curtail their dependence on Russia. Finally, if the winter is coming and if the the supplies through Ukraine, which is about 80 BCM, they're stopped, then there could be, and if Russia still behaves, from the Nord Stream there is still an idle capacity of about 25 BCM. Norwegians, I think, can also supply about 10 BCM, and then some energy efficiency. LNG imports close to increase, although they will be twice the price of the Russian gas, by 10 BCM. So somehow, this, if push comes to a shove, this could be bridged in a sense. Now coming to the Asian, ADB is quite active. I represent Central and West Asian Department of ADB, and we have been quite active in Central Asian countries. Turkmenistan, which is the 4th largest producer of gas. Unfortunately, to stir them into action, it takes some time. We have been working on TAPI pipeline, which goes east for almost about 15 years. ADB is the secretariat of Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India pipeline, but somehow the project has not kicked off yet. And Uzbekistan is running out of supplies of its proven reserves, so it has to exploit. It has to do more because they are already shedding their people, in winter. And the problem is that the countries don't talk to each other. So Turkmenistan is interested, going west, and the market is deregulated, and in a sense ADB is not obviously helping them, but they are, since they have been exploited by the Russians, so they are now looking for new markets, both in the north towards China, east towards India, Pakistan, and the west. Thank you very much.